Yes, guys, welcome back to the Weekly Roundup. We're on episode 4 with myself, Fitness Crypto, and Crypto Insight. And boy, do we have a lot to discuss today.
Yeah, man, there was so much news. We didn't even know which headlines were like the most important to make it to the weekly roundup. But we've picked what we think are probably the best for us and the news stories that we follow with the markets, but also with XRP.
Just everything. There's a bit of everything today. And we're starting off with a pretty big headline again. Another bank getting involved in crypto. This time we've got Argentina, another South American country as well, which we've been discussing a lot over the past couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone in, and the two largest private banks by market value, sorry, are offering a feature where basically people can buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDC, and XRP,
Which
which is
is
why this story is kind of at the top here because we obviously put a tweet out about it on our Twitter
mm-hmm.
saying that it's quite refreshing to see XRP amongst the big names of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a stable coin.
Mm-hmm.
So we found this really interesting.
Yeah, and also like we mentioned this last week. Argentina, along with Turkey, the two economies that are like we kind of have our eye on, as well as like Panama and a few others that we think might bring in crypto's adoption because their local currencies are struggling. I think like Turkey's is down like 70%. Do we have a tab open for that or not? Did that not make it in? I don't know.
Not didn't make it. Didn't make it.
But that is it's funny how we talk about what we mentioned maybe three countries last week: Panama, Argentina, and Turkey, and all of those have been in the news this week in regards to crypto in some way. We talked about them and maybe adopting Bitcoin in some way, but they are now offering crypto as a service in Argentina. And yeah, as you said, it's sweet to see XRP there in that selection. It's not often that you get to see that when they're only picking four. One's a stable coin, so they're only picking three really. And one of them's XRP, which is where it should be. It was the top three before the SEC came through and did their thing. But it's nice to see it being recognised again.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy how we're seeing like a different story come out every week, isn't it? So
Mm.
obviously we've been doing this for 4 weeks now,
Mm-hmm.
and literally week after week, there's another bank getting involved, and we keep stressing the fact that people once one kind of does something, a lot of us will follow, and we're
Yeah.
seeing it here again. So obviously Argentina are doing bits and making money moves, as I
Mm-hmm.
said on my TikTok, and yeah, it's really good to see XRP amongst the other two big coins there, but.
Definitely, and really good for like the retail investors in general because it gives them that option away from their fiat like monetary system that is depreciating like heavily against the dollar. So and just heavily in general, like if we saw, for example, Turkey's 70% inflation. I don't know what it is in Argentina, but we have seen inflation rates like that in Argentina. So it gives the public there a way to hedge their wealth against the future like destabilization of their currency.
Yeah, it gives them a nice little way to kind of get involved and get a bit of exposure to crypto, doesn't it? Really, it
Mm-hmm.
makes it a lot easier, which is obviously why they've done it. And again, I'll say it again this week: we're going to see more countries coming out and doing something very similar to this, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whether it be in South America, sorry, or a different like Europe, it could be anyone next. But Argentina, they're a big country. They are a
Yeah,
big
they are.
country, so it's probably this is why it's big news because of the sheer size of Argentina.
Yeah, well, my eyes, like, and our eyes, we've talked about this specifically on like Latin America, like in and around the Latam region, like it's just eyes on there for crypto. Asia and Latin America, like APAC and LATAM, the two areas that look to be really trying to take the bull by its horns for a few different reasons. Obviously, they've always had issues with like cross-border remittances, having to change things through the dollar and having illiquid corridors. But also, they obviously are developing economies, so and their currencies are quite or more unstable against that of the dollar. So it's such a good like hedge against something like this against the dollar. That's why we've also seen again last week in Africa, like the Central African Republic, come out. Like it makes sense for any like emerging economy or any struggling economy or a liquid corridor economy to diversify against the dollar when you can get a liquid asset class like this that holds value.
Exactly. That's literally why these countries are doing it is to obviously hedge against the dollar because obviously they're struggling obviously a lot more than America. So because I think obviously like you were saying even last week, say if America come out and say we've got X amount percentage of inflation, these guys are getting hit harder because their actual currency is obviously debasing from. the dollar itself. So they're actually feeling it two times or three, four, whatever it is. So
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So if like the Turkish like lira is debating at like 70% a year, and the dollar's strengthening by what's it strengthened even like in the last few weeks, maybe like five ten
today,
percent. I don't know. It's like up a few percent today. Like that's like 70 times that amount. So 70 even times like 1.8% is still like an extra 0.8% times 70, whatever that is. So it's another 7% ish on top of their debasement just in a day. Just in a day. It's mad.
it's hitting them hard, and I'm glad they're doing stuff like this as well because it kind of shows people not relying on the dollar, which we're going to see a lot more of. But we'll move on to the next topic. Well,
Number two.
number two, and this came today, so we'll throw it in there because obviously we spoke about this a lot over a few other episodes. But the plot thickens yet again.
This took me by surprise, bro. Big time. Big time took me by surprise.
Obviously, Binance joins funding for Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter. So these guys have revealed they're going to contribute $500 million, which is ridiculous to this. What's going on? What's going on now? Why Binance getting involved?
Bro, this is what I was saying. Like, look, I said the other week, there's another motive to this with Elon. Like, he has his motive. Like, let's say, I know he's a wacky billionaire and he can do what he wants because he's that rich. But I said, like, whether it's just about that or not, I don't know. But there's something else will come from this. And we speculated on a payment system, some sort of payment system, because obviously he's a co-founder of PayPal. That's where he made his name originally. Would make sense. He talks about Doge a lot. He talks about crypto a lot. He says that fiat currency is crap. He says crypto's a little bit less crap, basically, is what he says. So it makes sense that he's going to try and evolve our payment system. And what better way than take over like a whole social media network and implement a payment system through there? We've already got some sort of tipping service. Now with Binance coming in, it kind of like, I don't know. It's like maybe it's the icing on the cake. It's a bit obvious now, isn't it?
I think with Binance coming in, it shows everyone that he's trying to combine the two worlds of obviously like using Twitter, which is obviously one of the biggest social media platforms out there, and it's already got a massive customer base. And he's trying to show, okay, now we're going to bring Binance in, basically hinting to us he's going to make it some sort of payment system on the blockchain. So again, we said that this would probably happen like a few weeks ago when we first started talking about Elon and his Twitter venture. So a lot of people have called it as well. People are kind of getting hints, but you never know with this guy what he's actually going to do with it. So
no, and it's just weird because like the thing that I don't really like about this is he's like buying it in order to take it away from like the big boys, and like who's now owning it, like him and the big boys. So like,
exactly.
what difference is it to anyone?
Yeah, I know. Like I saw a tweet earlier. I think he's obviously done this to make it more decentralized, but now he's almost making it centralized, but just around him. So I'm not too sure. Like again, I'm sure something's going to come out in regards to this over the next week or so, as it always does with Elon. He seems to be everywhere over social media at the moment. So
yeah, and just reading that it like goes on in that paragraph. I don't know if any of them have been confirmed, but venture capital, Sequoia, I don't know who they are. 800 million. Fidelity, obviously, we do know who they are, and A16Z, we know who they are as well. They were massive in like the internet boom, and they've got huge crypto. They do a lot in the crypto space. Fidelity obviously recently just offered the 401k, so like the pension plans for people to be able to take that, or at least some of that in Bitcoin. So again, they're quite heavily involved into crypto, but they're still legacy financial institutions getting involved in something that's supposed to be like freeing us from like from the people watching over from above.
Exactly. It makes you think, doesn't it? Is he doing this to do that, make us free, or is he just doing it to take control? Who knows? Who knows?
I and I wouldn't know with him. You don't know until it's done, do you, with Elon?
No, you don't know what is on that guy's mind. That's what's got him into the position he's in right now, obviously because of his mind. But I guess, like we said, we're just gonna have to wait and see what he actually decides to do with this. And again, I'm quite excited to see where this is going. But I know it's a bit, like you said, he's almost centralizing it again. But I think it's quite cool to see Binance getting involved in that as well, because it just kind of echoes what we say on a day-to-day basis, that mass adoption of the blockchain is coming, and we can kind of see it already getting integrated in little bits like this. Well, it's not even a little bit. Twitter's massive. So
yeah, and like when I say that, yeah, it's becoming more centralized, I think it is, and I think that even crypto will become more centralized, like quote unquote, as more legacy institutions come through, and that's what brings the price action for everybody. But like, it doesn't bother me whether it's centralized, decentralized, or some other term or whatever you want to call it. As long as my speculative investments increase in value, like I'm
Exactly.
literally not bothered. That's what I'm here for.
Exactly. I mean, chances are it's going to be better than it was before anyway. So, because
Yeah, I
everything
hope
at the
so.
moment is so centralized and gets quite tamed, everything's monitored. So, again, let's just see how that cracks on. But enough of Elon. He's had enough airtime on social
Yeah,
media.
you love it. Enough airtime
We'll
on our
move.
podcast as well.
Exactly. I know majority of us just chatting about Elon. But no, big news here.
Huge.
FIFA announces partnership with blockchain innovator Algorand.
Mm. This is
This
a
is
it's a big one.
so obviously for those who don't know, obviously the World Cup is kicking off this year, in a few months,
Soccer.
and soccer. Uh,
Or
so,
football for
so
his UK boys.
no, it's definitely
It
football.
is
Don't try
football.
and call it soccer. Um, but no, they've obviously confirmed that they're going to be partnering up with Algorand,
Hmm.
and it's another big news because again, it's putting another blockchain company in the social media spotlight because obviously we've got Crypto.com, which is kind of their partner with like the UFC. I'm pretty sure they're playing a part in the World Cup as well.
Yeah.
So that they're a name that everyone kind of knows about, but it's bringing in like actual blockchain innovators like Algorand into the space, which again is quite refreshing to see.
Yeah, and I do want to comment on that actually. So we've got Crypto.com as a sponsor, like an official sponsor of the World Cup. But then the terminology of this makes me think that Algorand are going to play some kind of integral part. And we actually do have a low cap gem that we're going to maybe tip you in a minute, but not financial advice,
Yeah,
obviously. But this is something that I find interesting, the terminology that they've come out with. So they've said there, look, Algorand will become the official blockchain platform of FIFA. That's what it says. The
yeah,
blockchain platform of FIFA, and then the title above that says with green blockchain specifically. It's this green narrative again that's being pushed. We see like we saw the other week a little vote for proof of work to be banned on Bitcoin in Europe. We're seeing a lot against like Bitcoin proof of work systems, the energy narratives. Obviously, we've got this war that's really pushing on our energy supplies. I watched a podcast this morning with Raoul Pal talking about energy squeezes for Europe and how do Europe get around that. And they said they might have to like, limit energy consumption for households in Europe. And I'm thinking it's just all pushing towards this. And then again, you've got green in the title of the first bullet point of this new deal with Algorand. And I think that it's being stressed massively that green blockchains are going to come through.
yeah. And another thing in the terminology there, it says obviously the partnering up with FIFA to provide. No, sorry,
Block.
from what it sounds like to me, it's going to be a bit more of a long-term partnership,
Mm,
not just for the World Cup. That's what I'm trying to say,
mm,
because it says it's the official blockchain platform of FIFA.
yeah.
So not just for the FIFA World Cup. So again, I don't know what they've got planned with Algorand. Again, we'll go into the next tab, which will kind of show you a bit of insight that we'll find actually low cap. We'll actually move on to it now because this is what it is. It's Wad's Pay token.
Mm,
Now these guys are partnered up with Algorand, right?
yeah.
And they do stuff with ticketing,
Yeah,
don't they?
so yeah, if we go on, just go back to the first page for a sec, like the FIFA one. We
Yeah.
on there, look, it says they're going to provide the official blockchain supported wallet solution, and obviously the Women's World Cup in Australia, New Zealand 23, and the Men's World Cup. And then if we go to like Wads Pay and the second page after that, I don't know if you open their website or not. So if you go on Wads Pay, if you just bang their website open, just on the left there. WadsPay's website, if we look at this, it's going to show you that it helps with CBDCs, like helping from CBDCs in terms of like interacting with different payment systems. I think it would be a decent payment platform to help with ticketing. We know that they're partnered with Algorand. We have no affiliation with these, by the way. Look, here's their Algorand partnership. Look, if you scroll down a little bit, obviously the background is that of the UAE, like Dubai. And then if you see here, look, it shows you a bit about their payment system. Whether this is or isn't anything, I just think that the timing's a bit like coincidental to say we've got a potential wallet partnership with Algorand, and we've got a really low cap in WadsPay here that have just partnered with them, who are also based out in the Middle East. So maybe one to keep your eye on there, Pav. What do you think?
Yeah, again, it's just another way that we're seeing the blockchain getting integrated into our everyday life. I mean, it's like TikTok, a couple of TikToks that you did this week with what's his name? Sorry, on Raul Pompliano.
Yeah.
How he said we're basically going to tokenize the whole world, and you can kind of see it happening right now.
Mm.
So everything we do in the future is going to be tokenized. Everything's going to be on the blockchain. And again, we're seeing it now. Hopefully, this actually comes into fruition because I'd actually love to see these guys get involved with the ticketing of the World Cup because then we're going to kind of see the utility of cryptos be involved
Hmm.
with us already. We're in 2022, and I wouldn't have
Yeah.
expected. To me, last year, I wouldn't have kind of said that blockchain companies like this would be implementing their utility to our everyday life. Like, would
Yes,
you?
it's coming quick. It's coming quick. I don't know. We've talked about this, me and you personally, maybe for like 2 or 3 years,
Yeah,
and it is like getting that way. But it's weird to see the first few like implementations. I think as soon as we see it happen 3, 4, 5 times, like we're seeing the yuan in China, now we're seeing maybe like Algorand for ticketing here. We're seeing countries adopting Bitcoin. Like it is slowly trickling in. And I think that sooner rather than later, like everyone's going to be using it in some way because all it really is a software update. Is what we talk about a lot. It's just a software update. It makes things faster, cheaper, more transparent, secure, like all these things. So it just makes sense on every level, really. So,
yeah,
but yeah, like you
yeah,
said, it is surprising too. It's not. I don't know if surprising is the right word. It's more like strange.
yes.
I don't know. It's weird.
It's just come a little bit quicker than we kind of
Yeah.
anticipated. I think just obviously we knew this was stuff like this was going to happen and it was going to come into our lives sooner rather than later. But I wouldn't
Mm.
have said like this World Cup we would be using. They'd be potentially using like a blockchain company to provide ticketing at all. So,
Yeah, we're gonna get
but no, that's
no
fine.
fakes and
It's
stuff
nice to
now.
see. Exactly. It's gonna be hard to get into those games now, isn't it? With your counterfeit tickets, will. Right. Oh, I don't know why I said that. Right. Right.
No,
Okay.
it's all right.
So
I know how to
moving.
still make them on the blockchain.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So moving on. You've probably seen this, guys, but the US SEC
Hmm.
doubles crypto division workforce to enhance investor protection. And we've both made TikToks on this. So basically, they've opened up 20 new positions, I think it is, to bring the and then it's 50, so 20 new people are being employed,
Hmm.
but there's 50 new positions that those 20 people are going to fulfill, basically.
Hmm.
And I'll start off on this, and I'll just kind of echo what I said in one of my TikToks I made in regards to this. Yes, maybe short term, it's not going to be great for crypto because they're just going to be clamping down on a lot, and it might kind of hinder the growth of it, maybe. But long term, as I'm sure a lot of people would agree, some sort of regulation is needed. Like
Mm.
it's clear as day. Everyone knows this. Obviously, the whole point of crypto is to be slightly more decentralized, less control from people like this, the SEC. But I still think in a world we live in today, we need some sort of regulation. And I think this is again, it seems a bit negative, but I kind of personally see it as a bit of a positive because investors do need protecting at the end of the day.
Mm.
Otherwise, these big institutions aren't going to get involved if there's no investor protection because they're just exposing themselves a bit too much, in my opinion. So, what do you think? What do you think about
Yeah,
it?
I think it's a mixed bag. I think I can hear where you're coming from. I do like want to echo that, and I do agree. Um, I think it's weird timing. I think that before the executive order comes in, they're really pushing to double down on their team and take like I think they're trying to take as much power as they can right now before they have to like maybe take a step back. I think it's strange that Hester Peirce is one of the commissioners and she came out and said, well, we don't even have clear legislation and we're not an enforcement agency. We're a regulatory agency, but with no clear like regulation. We're just trying to enforce something that we haven't even created yet. So I think there's a lot of like fors and against. I do agree that we do need regulation. I think that there's a hella load of scams in the market. That's to start with. So for retail investors, a lot of people. In fact, the general consensus of crypto and like from people who don't invest into it is that it's just a scam. That's the
Scam, exactly.
general consensus of most of the population in the world, I would say. So that obviously needs clearing up. But whether the SEC are the right ones to do that and whether it's the right way doing it this way, I would rather someone overlook them, said like, okay, well, what are you doing? What are you actually trying to uphold here? And what is going on? Then it happened this way, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. And if you're an XRP holder, though, specifically, I do think that it's kind of good for us, like in kind of a selfish way, because if we come out of this lawsuit with a settlement or some kind of positive settlement or a win for Ripple, with a double jeopardy rule, they won't be able to go after Ripple and XRP again. But then if they get super strict on like every other crypto, and we've got clarification for XRP, it's a double bonus for us, really.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't actually think about that.
Yeah.
So obviously they can't. So once they kind of sue Ripple and XRP, they can't go after them again for doing something else,
No.
or they'll
So
be less likely to. So, but
yeah.
again, I guess you are right actually saying. I guess the negative is that it's the SEC. The positive is there's slightly a bit more cracking down on things like scams, because there are a lot of scams out there, and it does put a lot of, especially retail investors and institutional investors, off crypto
Mm.
in general. But again, it's not doom and gloom, but it's not great. But I guess it's a step in towards the right direction. Let's just see how they deal with it. Let's just see. I guess like the bill, what we see later on this year with the US is
Yeah.
regulations, and let's see how they kind of mix, because I just don't like the SEC being in control of crypto, and obviously no one likes the SEC
No.
being involved too heavily, because they just seem to kind of dominate it at the moment. If there's a problem within crypto and it's to do with regulation, the SEC are all over it. And
It probably comes from the SEC. Let's be honest.
yeah, I know oh god, yeah. Let's not go into the SEC because we'll
Yeah,
be
they get
talking
too
for
much
hours about them.
airtime on our podcast as
They
well.
get way too much, but I do like speaking about them because of
Get us,
yeah,
Gary.
yeah, Gaza. All right, enough of Gaza. Let's move into someone who we both like,
Yeah, we
the
do.
GOAT himself.
We do.
Here's Brad Garlinghouse. Now,
BG.
we've spoke about him before. I think we covered his Bloomberg interview last week. Just
Yeah.
before we get into what he said in this interview, I was just like to bring up what I said to you actually this week. Is that don't you think Brad's kind of he's doing a bit of like a media push at
Yes.
the moment? I don't think he's been this active
No.
on social media, doing interviews, answering questions about everything. He's not really didn't hold back in this interview, as we know. Like, why do you think he's got some sort of like? Is he trying to kind of stick his middle finger up to the SEC, saying, "Look, I'm still going to carry on, and this is what we're doing. I'm going to be really public about what Ripple are doing as a company," and like we'll go into what he says. But do you think
Yeah.
there's some sort of ulterior motive to that, or?
Well, I think it's a hard one. Like we obviously, as you said, you're bang on. We haven't seen much of him at all. Like for maybe the past year and a half, and I presume when you're under some sort of like legal case, because it's a personal case against him and Chris Larson, as well as there's a secondary case against Ripple, obviously, or the other way around. I presume he's being told by his lawyers to just like keep it like lay low, basically. And I think now it's just got to a point. Obviously, the case is a year and a half on. We know that the SEC just keep delaying. And I think now he's just like, oh, like I've had enough of this. I'm going to come out. I'm going to talk, and I'm going to talk about exactly what this American-based cryptocurrency like facilitating company are doing, how we're innovating, the money that we're making, and basically the fact that the SEC are pushing people away from the US shores. And you can see statistically from what we've been doing how much of a benefit our company has been to like financial institutions, small businesses, all this sort of stuff. So it's doing like a few things. I think it's like highlighting the need for crypto. I think it's highlighting the fact that the SEC are basically like stifling potential innovation in the US. And I think he's probably just like, I've had enough of like laying low now. Like I've got so much to talk about, and I presume that a lot is really well. I mean, you can see it from their quarterly reports. There's a hell of a lot going on at Ripple, and I presume he just wants to talk about it as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what he says in this interview here, like this specific clip, I think it's around this time actually, guys. Obviously, we can't play the sound because it doesn't work on what platform we're using. So go over and watch this interview. But around this time, he kind of suggests that he starts talking about CBDCs and how they're working with some which they've announced. But what he says specifically here is we're working with CBDCs which we haven't yet announced, and he kind of indicate that there's a few of them, basically, which is why I kind of said I think this is a bit of a a bit of a message to the SEC saying, look, if you don't want us, we're going to go elsewhere. We're going to work with all the other CBDCs around the world.
Mm-hmm.
But just on that topic, because also I know you've asked me this question this week when we watched this. Which CBDCs do you think he means when he says we've got yet to announce?
That's a hard question. We talked about this. We talked about this in the week off camera. And yeah, I just want to just reiterate what you were saying there. So he said that they have confirmed partnerships. So that's like Bhutan and Palau, who they're already working with. And he also said that, like you said, that they have they have confirmed partnerships they haven't announced yet. And he was specific about the fact that he said they were building on the XRP ledger, they were testing on the private ledger and minting their own tokens on the private ledger, which is exactly what we want as XRP holders, because the more volume and the more amount of volume that comes onto the network in different tokens, the better for us as XRP holders, because XRP is like the intermediary token that exchanges it from one place of value to another. So let's say, for example, and I don't want to use this example because I know this is the one you're going to pick, but the Bank of England and the Great British Pound comes onto the XRP ledger, and that wants to interact with Bhutan or Palau. They can't, or they don't want to, just send each other their tokens, because then they'll have to hold each other's token. It doesn't solve any problem. It just digitizes the problem that we've already got. So then this is how XRP comes into that equation, is you swap it into XRP and out into the token or the different currency that you're looking for, or unit of value. So that's how XRP works. Some people get confused when they say, oh, look, I told you they build their own tokens. And that's exactly what we want, though, basically, for the people who maybe don't have that same understanding. But you asked me who I think, and one of the teams, one of the countries I was going to suggest were Egypt. And that was because of one of the banks in Egypt work with, or the biggest Egyptian private bank are working with the Lulu exchange in the UAE. And then I don't know who my second country was, because I can't remember who yours were. So you go for your two. We said two each, didn't we? We had to do.
Yeah, we did.
You go for your two, and then I'll say.
Yeah, I was like you said there. I went big and said Bank of England. But I've not just pulled that name out of thin air. Like, we know they've been working with the Bank of England since back in 2017. I think that it's well documented that obviously it wasn't to do with what they're talking about now. But we'll just describe it as something to do with something else. But this shows there's a relationship there. Yeah, that's what it was. It shows that it shows that there's a relationship between the two. So that's it's more of an educated guess. A bit of hopium, but I can't not see that happening anywhere in the world we live in at the moment, especially with what's going on.
I want to add on to that, because there's hopium there, like you said. I think it's 2016 with the first documentation of testing proof of concept, which is just the way that the XRP ledger settles transactions. So you obviously have proof of work on Bitcoin, proof of stake on something like Cardano, and proof of concept is the way that the validators on the XRP ledger will settle transactions. And that's basically what they were testing at the Bank of England in 2016. And then, but you're saying that obviously would give some sort of indication that they were working together. Yeah. And I can see that completely. And then one thing I want to add on to that is that when we saw the Bank of England talk the other day, last month, we saw them say that they were looking to move maybe some sovereign debt on, or experiment with distributed ledger technology. Well, we also know that Ripple were the first DLT company, distributed ledger technology company, to be ISO 222 compliant, or 2022. So that would actually couple up pretty well. And who was your second prediction?
I went with, I think I went with Saudi in the end, just because, again, just with the relationships that they have with Ripple, they're really strong. We know this, again, it's well documented. That's the kind of route I was trying to go down. Who have Ripple kind of worked with in the past and / are working with actively. And so those are the two, and they are big ones. I didn't go for any small CBDCs, which obviously will be, and it probably will most likely be a small one they announce next. But then again, like I said, with everything that's going on with the lawsuit, who actually knows what Ripple are doing behind the scenes? We said this last week. We don't actually know. We can just, as retail investors, we can just sit here and make educated guesses like we're trying to do now. So those are the two that I went for.
Yeah.
Who was your second?
I can't remember if mine was. It might have been France. We saw that the Bank of France had some testing again with XRP. I think that was maybe 2018. We also know that there's speculation about Christine Lagarde, who's head of the ECB at the minute, ex-head of the IMF, becoming president in France. She's got good relationships with Brett Garlinghouse. They've obviously been to loads of meetings and stuff together. And people who say, oh yeah, that doesn't mean they've talked about Ripple and XRP. If you are the CEO of a company like Ripple, you don't talk about anything else. Let's be honest, you go to sleep, you wake up, you talk about Ripple, you talk about XRP. Everyone you hang around with, all you're talking about is banking, financial systems and XRP. Like I know that even as a content creator who works for myself, my guy's a CEO of like a multi-billion-dollar company. He doesn't talk about anything else other than Ripple and XRP. So if people are hanging around with him, that is what they're talking about. Another speculation could be like the Swiss bank. I think that we've seen that Project Jura, that was like a little while ago. I haven't talked about that for a while, but there was speculation of some testing with the XRP ledgers to do with like Switzerland and a few other countries. So that's that would be my third guess.
Yeah, I think the France is a really good shout. But like you're 100% right. If you're in a room with Brent Gardenhouse, you best believe he's obviously going to speak about XRP plus Ripple as a
Mm-hmm.
whole. He's, especially when he's in a room with like these big people, he's not just going to stay quiet. Of course, he's going to push what he created. So
Mm.
I do agree with that, and I think France is a good shout. And I think that's what you said in our conversation. But sorry, it could be anyone.
It could be.
Like I said, we don't know what's going on. Only they
It's
do.
most
But
it's most likely to be a smaller country to start with, just because there's less implications. Like if a smaller country like with less corridors like implements it, but like a bigger country with like big GDP and stuff probably has a lot of like knock-on implications that we don't really understand as retail investors. So it is a lot more complicated for those.
yeah, but those are our maybe shouts in the future, like who we think will come out first. But let's see, time will tell. But we'll
Mm-hmm.
move on to this tweet that you actually quite retweeted from Anders L. So shout out to this guy for his thread.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically is just discussing Ripple and their new website and how it's kind of focusing on a lot more focus on crypto.
Mm.
Because I think before, did you say it was focusing on banking and crypto, but they've gone more towards full crypto now, or?
Yeah, so before obviously we had RippleNet was one of their products. And I don't know if that still exists now, but it's not really much mention of it on their website. RippleNet was just like an upgrade to Swift. It just solved the messaging system, but a bit faster through the blockchain. And now, as you can see, the first thing you see on their website is business impact powered by crypto. The way you move, manage, and tokenize value. That's literally just their homepage. If we click into this thread, I think like maybe the third or fourth tweet down. So that's obviously the first thing you see is cross-border payments, crypto liquidity, and CBDCs. It talks about them, and that's the tweet that I'm looking at there, number 4. It's specifically showing how Ripple do cross-border payments, but XRP is right there, slap in your face. Whereas before there wasn't this section. It was 2 different pages, and they've amalgamated them into one, and Rich really pushed XRP in your face, basically.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I can't remember seeing a lot of XRP on their website before. I only briefly went on it before, but it's literally, like you said, bang on it in your face now. They're almost spelling it out for us, aren't they? So it's good to see. It really
Yeah,
is.
so and we don't know if that means anything. No one knows if that means anything until we see more information come out, but it's certainly not negative that they're talking about XRP more on their website. So that's something that I would definitely take into consideration.
Cool, cool. That was just a brief topic, and the last thing we actually want to speak about is another goat, the other goat of ours,
He is the
who
goat.
we both rate really highly,
Hmm.
and actually one of the first people that got is into crypto, right? Especially when we first got into the space.
Yeah.
Raoul Pal was someone who we used to watch quite a lot, and I think have a vivid memory of us watching a couple of his videos and thinking, "Wow, what is this? Like, what have we just dove into?" And he strikes again because he put a YouTube video up on his real, what is it, his personal, I think, personal or Real Vision.
On Real
I think
Vision,
he's
yeah.
got
No,
Real
on Real
Vision,
Vision, yeah.
and it's a really good video. It's about an hour and a half long. It's a bit long, but I'm telling you now, if you watch that, you will kind of come out and you will 100% learn a lot, and it'll kind
Mm.
of shift your thinking a bit. So go ahead and watch that. But this clip again, you won't be able to hear it. We've both made TikToks about this specific clip,
Hmm.
but it's just him kind of speaking about crypto and like how it's people are adopting it so quick, and how you shouldn't be fearful of these new bits of technology that are coming into our lives. You should be buying it, not being fearful of it.
Yeah, he's basically saying that it's like the biggest opportunity of our life, and saying he obviously phrases a lot and uses a lot of like Metcalfe's law, Reed's law. He talks about, and that's just about network adoption, and he's just saying that, which obviously makes sense, that with if you have an initial like wave of adoption, like you do with something like the internet, that gives everyone the opportunity to connect to each other, whenever you adopt technology on top of that, it's going to be like way faster because we've already got the initial connection. So you just have to run the next connection on top of the initial connection, so it comes way faster. And that's basically what's happening here with crypto. So we've got to adopt it faster than we do the internet because we've already made the initial steps to be able to connect with each other, and now we're not only connecting through the internet and then creating Web3, but we also have the opportunity to buy a section of it. Like imagine being able to buy a section of the internet as a whole. Like if we as retail investors could have done that back in the day, you'd be a multi millionaire now. And that's basically what he's saying. He's like, and he's not just talking about crypto, he talks about technology, like loads of different types of technology and advancements that are coming because of our advancements in technology. But he's saying, don't be scared of this stuff. I know it's scary because it's new, but this is the stuff that's really going to take us forward as a civilization. And as investors, it gives us that opportunity into an emerging asset class.
Yeah, I know. He covers a lot in this, and he brings up a lot of charts and goes through it quite in depth in terms of how they're related to. Because he kind of speaks about us going into potential recession. There's going to be a potential demand shock. But the general consensus I got from this video is that everything in this world that we live in today, whether it be financial, everything is just changing so quick.
Mm.
And especially over the past few years, his kind of charts depict that. They kind of show really volatile movements, which don't normally tend to happen in the charts he was discussing. In fact, I think there is a chart on here which kind of showed the adoption rate of crypto against the internet. And again, it's just a lot more steeper than the internet because we've got access to a lot more information now. We've got it all in front of us. So when something like crypto comes along, people can pick it up, especially people our age, can pick it up a lot quicker than say the internet when the internet came around. Because when the internet came around, everyone was a bit like, I guess, similar to what they are now to crypto, and erring about it. But now you can kind of, if you want to know something about it, you can get it like that. Whereas
Yeah.
with the internet, it was more word of mouth almost, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
guess
kind
we
of.
don't know that, but
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Like I kind of remember like dial-up coming in and then like having to plug it in and stuff when you wanted to
that's what I
like
mean.
load up an
I
email
don't
or
even
something.
remember that.
Yeah, that's because I'm old. Uh, but no, yeah, you're exactly right there, and it's just like don't be scared. It's just a new payment system that's coming in. It's an update to the technology we already have, and if you have the chance and the risk tolerance to be able to expose yourself to it, he's basically saying it like this and tech are the best opportunities of a lifetime, basically.
Yeah.
And I completely
Again,
agree.
yeah, I'll just end on the fact that again I made a TikTok about it today, just saying I think it's just really good advice for
Mm.
someone, say for someone our age who's kind of weighing up the pros and cons of getting into crypto, or they've heard of it and they're just not too sure about it, where to put their money. He sums everything up in this video in terms of what you should be getting. Obviously, it's not financial advice, but he kind of not tries to persuade you, but
Yeah, I think the
depicts
point is
everything quite
like
well.
don't be distracted by price action. Look at the actual, take a step back and look at the
Yeah,
fundamentals
exactly.
of network adoption and how many people are using the network and how many more people are likely to use the network in the future. And from there, you can find some sort of price. And in between that, with any emerging asset class, the price is going to massively fluctuate. So I think that's like the main point of the video, do you?
Yeah, literally, it is out there. But go and watch it. In fact, go and watch all of his YouTube videos because he's such a clever guy. Honestly,
Yeah, he is.
if you're again someone who's just getting into the space or is just interested about economics, it is good to keep up with that kind of news. Anyway, honestly, it is
Yeah, to keep
because
broader,
you need to
broader.
know what's going on in your world,
Mm,
especially if you want to start getting into finance
sure.
because it's not just about TA, it's about other things that's going on in the
Yeah,
world, and he kind of
everything
covers everything.
everything affects it, and you have to take a little like bit from everything, and then try and make your own thesis from there. I think.
Exactly, that's literally what we kind of say to each other a lot.
We're
But
gonna finish on the DXY.
we are going to finish on the DXY because it's doing a bit of a craziness. After a crazy day yesterday,
Yeah.
obviously the Fed came out and announced their hike, and we kind of saw a bit of price action, which we weren't really expecting. I guess
Hmm.
we saw a dip in the DXY and Bitcoin go up, but today we've seen a complete opposite, as you can see on the right hand side here.
So
Bitcoin's currently down 6.6, XRP down pretty much 7%, and the DXY is 1.2% up today. It's What am I seeing?
It's still not had a close above that high. I do think we'll have like some sort of choppy volatility here. If we go back to like the last time it was at this level, I think it has
Yeah,
actually
let me
stayed
try
up
and go
here for
back
like
to it.
4 weeks. You probably have to put it on the weekly, yeah. I
Yeah,
think it was up here for in and around 4 weeks, like in that range. I'm not sure exactly, but
yeah, it was a few weeks.
yeah,
You're talking about this one, aren't you? Yeah,
yeah.
it was
There's
a
three
few
or
weeks
four
there.
weeks where we're actually in that range, and so we could see weeks of this, like potentially before it makes a decision one way or another. Obviously, with any kind of resistance or support, it can easily reject or break through that at any point. But don't be um, don't be surprised if we flirt around this level for a little while it tries to work its mind out as to whether it's going to have a solid breakout or whether it's going to reject this level because I don't know personally. I think everything's pointing towards the fact that we could break through at least for a little period with a destabilization in Europe, potential recession there coming for accelerated from like the war, the Russia-Ukraine war. We're seeing the Great British Pound down today like 2% against the dollar. We've had the Bank of England came out who said that we're going into a recession in the UK. So all these things add towards like as long as the dollar can at least maintain the strength that it is at the minute, if everything else is losing strength against that, then it will obviously gain strength against them, even though it's not really doing too much. So a strong dollar is looking likely, but it's oversold on daily, weekly, monthly charts still massively on the RSI. Overbought, sorry, on the RSI daily, weekly, monthly. So I think there's potential. This is your indicator, Pav. Do you want to talk through that? I don't know.
We'll save that for next week because the reason being, we'll add it as a bit of a bonus on the end
Okay.
if you've got a reminder. Because just because I haven't got the page yet, because there's an actual bit on Trading View which kind of it's literally a
Describes it
whole
exactly.
loads of
Sure.
information in terms of what it is, how to interpret it, what you need to be looking out for, and I was mentioning it to Will yesterday. It's a pretty good indicator just to add to your list of indicators because the more indicators you've got, I think you get a better view of the market. Again,
Yeah, I agree.
they're not don't take them as gospel. I wouldn't ever say take indicators as gospel, but they kind of give you a hint in terms of which direction the market's going, or like that BBWP, which I just had on, tells you kind of when there's going to be a move in the market, and it's been fairly accurate. So
Hmm.
we'll go into that next week. But yeah, the
Look at the
DXY is
state of it.
pushing.
Look at the state of the RSI.
And how high can that go?
It's been up to 87. I think we looked the other week. I think the
Oh
highest it's
yeah,
been is 87, and this is what I talked about. I was like, don't be too surprised if it does poke its head up, and I think that could be a bull trap for anyone getting involved, because there is still space for it to go up to like 87 ish on the RSI, and then I think we could
yeah,
see a reversal from there. But when we're in this overbought area on the RSI, like we aren't up here for long. So and long, like yes, this is a weekly time frame, so it could be, as I said, it could be a few weeks, but I also don't know if we do go parabolic here with the DXY because that's what the macros are indicating. But normally, when you see charts indicating something like this, the narrative does follow. Like we do get something that's going to bring the dollar down, but is that hopium or is that going to happen? Like I don't know. Like there's probably some personal bias in there because I do want crypto to pop off. When crypto pops off, it's normally into a weakening DXY. But the charts are saying that we could see a weakening DXY. But are we going to, or are the macro events going to push the dollar through? Is basically the question that I'm going to end
yeah,
this with this week. What do you
yeah.
think to finish up?
Who knows? Honestly, again, I'll say it again, like we said last week. You can look at charts, but I think what's going on in the world is very different to what was going on in the world 5 years ago. Obviously, with the geopolitical event, we've got a war kicking off. So, and the crypto's never been about when there's been a war. So you can look back as far as you want into historical data, but you won't be able to get a time like we're living in now, post-pandemic. Like I said, geopolitical war, inflation. There's so much going on. Like we've
Mm.
never been, like Raul Powell says in that YouTube video, we've never been in the position that we're in now. So it's hard to kind of look back at data and kind of say it's going to happen because it happened at this time. So
Yeah.
even though sometimes it does come true like that, but
Yeah, and
it's just a bit uncertain, a lot of uncertainty at the moment. That's what I'm kind of trying to say.
I actually made a deep dive YouTube video yesterday talking about specifically about to start with the Bitcoin like cycles, and I was just trying to make the point that at the minute I don't think it's fair to have conviction either way, or like a certain conviction, because there's so much conflicting information out there, a contradicting information all the way from macros all the way through to technicals. Like even the charts are contradicting themselves. Like it's just an uncertain period because we've just never been in this time. So, and in these times, you what you don't want to be doing is making a prediction. You want to, like, we make predictions for you guys with the information that we have, but only just to give you a hint of what we're thinking. It's not because that my mind's set on something. If I make a prediction at the minute, I'm probably like 55% thinking that to 45% the opposite. And I think that that's really important, that you don't make like a prediction in your head and that's what you think is going to happen. You basically see what the outcomes could be, and then when one of the outcomes starts to become more favourable, that's when you are more like you take that prediction forwards.
Yeah, I think that's spot on right there. That's the best thing we can do in this point in time, I think. In fact, I think that's good advice in general when it comes to trading.
Mm.
So use that going forward, guys.
Yeah, and
But
thank you for tuning in to week 4.
I think that's week 4 done and dusted. Again, there's a lot covered this week. I'm sure there's going to be a lot kicking off throughout this week now, which we'll discuss in episode 5. There's a lot, since, like I said, a lot's going on right now. So yeah, make sure you tune in, guys. Hope you enjoy these weekly roundups. Hope it helps you out. We're just doing this to keep you guys updated of what's
And
all the mayhem that's going on.
where can they find you, Pav, if they want to find some more information from you before next week?
So if you do want to get a sneak peek, you can obviously go to Will's TikTok, which I'm sure you all know, Crypto Insight UK, or you can come over to my TikTok, which is it's doing all right. We're starting, but it's fitness_crypto. So appreciate if you guys hopped over there, gave me a follow,
Go and
like
drop
a
him a
couple
follow.
of the videos.
Yeah,
It goes a long way. It really does go a long way. So and
Drop
like this YouTube video as well.
For sure. And you drop into fitness tips in there as well as crypto stuff.
We are. We're still working on the fitness stuff, but predominantly at the moment it's mainly crypto. But
Cool.
It's going to be fitness and crypto.
Cool. So thank you for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Peace up. A-Town
Peace
down,
out.
as Usher would say.